push off, Kevin. What's that? I don't know. You're in trouble. What sort of trouble? I don't know.
One side of the Metzler was almost completely deflated, and the fuel tank felt empty. And yet it would have to get us out to the middle of the lake and back.
They say they're sinking!
We found them far from shore. Ron had swamped, and in an attempt to get into the support boat, it too had taken on water. They were a strange sight. As we approached, they were just staring at us. Neither could talk, they were just so cold.
Geez, I never want to be that cold again. Yeah, the problem is the kayak goes through the waves and not over them. We've got to get something to make the bow go over the top of the waves.
Well, something like the Air Force used in the Murray trip last year.
Something like a fin to lift the front up.
Yeah. What about that man in Minneapolis, Bob Brown? He makes canoes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll give him a call tonight and see if we can make us something.
Ron's brush with Lake Irving left the kayak weakened. Seams split during manhandling the waterlogged boat.
Now rip it off. Right, stretch it out.
I'm pretty sure that's not the sort you peel, because otherwise look how thin it'd be.
Yeah, it's just too thin.
Okay, get some glue out, eh?
Not as bad as you thought it was.
It's only a little hole, but boy, old air gets out the road, doesn't it?
Day 3 starts late. The early morning wind was still too high to cross another lake. But the time was used to have a local upholsterer make a spray skirt, equipment which Ron had neglected to bring.
Right, is that high enough up the back? Is that over the back?
It's over the back.
Right.
Going on?
Yep. Should
Sides on.
they clipped on?
I think it's a wonderful thing, them boys coming down from Australia and coming down the Mississippi River like they are. Yeah, it's a wonderful experience for them.
Your gloves are in the waterproof bag.
Ron crosses 2 more lakes on the 4th day. It is one of the few windless days that the expedition will encounter. Fortunately, without wind, he is able to paddle straight across the lakes instead of hugging the shore. These direct crossings put him ahead of time, and he is able to cover 47 miles, his best distance so far. But he is 37 miles behind the Air Force time. At the end of each lake is the inevitable portage around a spillway. These long portages are slowing the expedition down, as Kevin and Carolyn alone have to manhandle the boats and equipment. Ron is unable to help.
boy, have we ever had a mild winter this year. And the river is so low. You can't hardly canoe down in it. In some spots it's so shallow. You just can't believe it. Usually we got snow, we're just walking to our knees yet at this time of the year. I've been here 50 years and I've never seen nothing like this in my life yet.
Dock up there?
It can only get easier. We've had a lot of trouble coming down as far as getting the support boat through, but that's the only. As far as myself and the boat here, we're going well. But as it gets deeper and that, there's no problem.
How did you get started kayaking?
How did I get started? Must have been 5 years ago. Right, lads, we've got to come up with some ideas for this year's program. What would you like to do in the way of recreational activities?
Well, Skip, how about trying some canoeing?
Sounds like a good idea. I'll probably have to get qualified before I can take you out. If you pull forward, the canoe goes forward. If you go backwards, it goes backwards.
May I help you, my lady?
Hi, couldn't you fill her up with regular, please?
All right, ma'am. Oh, I see you're part of the Australian crew going down the Mississippi?
Yeah, how'd you guess?
Oh, well, I've read about it and everyone's talking about it.
The first sign of industry, Grand Rapids, Minnesota. There are no rapids now. They were flooded by progress. The progress which is keeping the Mississippi at a trickle 159 miles from its source.
Ron's going well. It's 6 days now. He's behind schedule, but that's because of Lake Irving and the water level's pretty low at the moment. Lake Irving gave him a fright. Gave us all a fright. I wish Ron would let me look after him like I'm supposed to. He won't even let me massage him. The backs of his hands really got blistered from the sun yesterday, so I hope he keeps his gloves on today. The next checkpoint's about 18 miles from here. He's travelling about 6 miles an hour, so that's 3 hours. It's about 11 o'clock. Where am I going to put all this stuff? I wish Kevin would pack up their 10 of a morning. Would help me a bit.
There's a dam coming up, Ron. We'll have to portage.
Kevin, you'll need to go to the far right-hand side of the dam.
Okay, Carolyn, gotcha.
It's a difficult portage, but there's some guys here that have said they don't mind helping us if we need it.
Here we come.
That's all right, hang on to it.
You're running on schedule.
It's a wonder with this bloody wind.
We've got some guys to help you with the portage,
Why?
because it's really steep up there.
Just hold on to the light. I'm going to get awfully wet here. Right?
I got you.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, they're right. Thanks. Right, you got the other one there?
Here's a hat from us guys. And make it a good
Right.
trip.
Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, how's the kiss?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
It's going to be warm.
Buddies, come on. We gotta get your boat out of here.
Yeah. Oh, oh.
Ron, where do you want me to put it in?
Somewhere flat.
Okay.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's great. I couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, there you are.
See you later.
Day 7.
Bloody cold.
Minus 12 degrees Fahrenheit.
See the ice in the tent last night?
Yeah, it must have been freezing. Hey, isn't it Mother's Day back home, Ron?
Yeah, it is. I wonder what Mum's doing today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love a meat pie instead of these bloody frozen Wheaties. They're unreal.
Ron is a warm weather canoeist. These sub-zero temperatures in northern Minnesota are affecting him, and it begins to show in his unwillingness to start early, a discipline which he had hoped to maintain. Once the days warm up, Ron is fine. The late starts, however, are slipping him even further back. He is now 52 miles behind the British.
But the British were paddling 2 men to a canoe. There's a big difference in the amount of distance 2 men can cover.
Overcast day in Middle Falls today with a 30% chance of rain. And now, with the highlights of the county football, it's Chuck Harris.
The expedition moves south into the already burgeoning spring. The Mississippi is wider and stronger and is already showing signs of its latent might.
It's 2:15. Tell Ron he's a bit behind schedule. And your lunch is ready if you want to come and get it.
After 11 days of paddling, the expedition is again in Minneapolis. 1/4 of the Mississippi is now behind, 500 miles. Ahead is a different river, a controlled water highway. Portaging is over, but there are 27 locks to pass through between Minneapolis and St. Louis. Lock number 1, the deepest of all, bypasses St. Anthony's Falls. There is a 49 feet drop in the river level at Minneapolis. Bob Brown is waiting in Minneapolis with his handiwork.
Well, we got this made for you, Ron. I hope it works. Maybe it'll help keep the nose up in those big waves.
Yeah, the only way it's going to come off is if we really stop settling.
It ought to slip right on like this. Put a little duct tape around it.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. It's
a brand new invention, a prototype. We hope it works. We don't know.
But it doesn't work. The fin is too high off the nose of the kayak.
Sure, be pleased. No, you'd want us to modify it to something that'll work. Yeah. It was a good idea in theory, but the waves are just aren't that high. Yeah. I know it's not lined up, kid. That lake on Alaska, we don't have to worry because we get down here.
Yeah, it's all stump hills.
Yeah. Across.
So I thought it was small.
Quite narrow.
Yeah. Indian reservation.
Those barges are noisy. I think we better hit the sack, Kev. We can early start tomorrow.
The temperatures are rising as the expedition crawls south. The bitter cold mornings are behind. Most days now, the trio arises before dawn to get a head start. Ron also uses this quiet time of day to reflect and speculate. The Mississippi River has now grown to full size, and there is, by contrast with the former trickle, news of high floods in the south.
But what about those big barges, the 4-acre jobs? Could meet one of them on a bend and go underneath it. Everyone tells me they're my biggest worry.
Evidence of the river as a natural highway is increasing. Barges of all sizes are now posing a serious threat to the fragile kayak. With their 4,000 horsepower towboats churning up the water, Ron has to be alert. The wash from a barge can create 9-foot waves. Rain. A deluge. Wisconsin is having its wettest spring for many years. It is this rain along the catchments which will cause the 4th highest flood in the river's history. A flood which will both help the kayak speed and create a special danger of its own. Ron's craft is not designed for fast water.
Well, I knew it wouldn't be easy. At least I'm warm while I'm paddling. The trouble is I can't see anything ahead. Is that a barge or a lock? I'd better move over just in case it is a barge. Hope Carolyn's waiting.
Towns along the banks now reflect the image of the old riverboat days. They sprang up during the Great Move West, saw their heyday during the romantic paddle steamer river logging era, and have since settled back to be largely a memory of the wild days.
People often ask me what I think of when I'm paddling, how I don't go crazy. Well, I fix my eyes on the bow of the kayak, watch the water slide past. Each minute means progress. I never think about the next 10 miles or even 5. I only think of the next 10 minutes and then the next 10.
The barges are causing Ron lost time. He has a choice of riding the wake or running to the bank out of harm's way until the river settles. He does both, but experiments as well, judging each barge and set of circumstances as it comes.
This barge's wake will hit me in a second. I've worked out how I can beat it. I'll hold back, turn the kayak into the waves and go like hell. It's like surfing. It's great. Straight across.
He is 67 miles behind the British.